So I've been getting a few DMs about a few of you guys' projects being rejected from Filmhub. So I thought it would be really useful for you guys to break down a few common reasons why your projects may be rejected from Filmhub's quality control process. Now at first, my film failed Filmhub's quality control process for multiple reasons. And this video is going to get into those reasons and a few others. So let's get into it. Number one, repeated frames. Whenever you're filming an action scene, you're probably shooting it in slow motion. And at that point, you're probably filming at a higher frame rate, which will require you to slow it down in post. When you slow that footage down in post, after everything's said and done, it's very important that you go through that action sequence frame by frame to make sure there are no repeated frames or frozen frames, because it is possible to make the mistake of slowing down your footage to a point where it's not possible to slow down anymore. Typically, the editing program will repeat the frames in efforts to slow it down even further past its actual capability. So in your editing timeline, you really want to watch your slow motion shots frame by frame to ensure you have no repeated frames. Number two, poster font isn't big enough. Now, my film, which you can find on Tubi, the Roku channel, and Amazon Prime, failed the QC process for multiple reasons. The first reason was repeated frames. The second reason was my poster font was not big enough. Now, this is the only instance that I believe Filmhub has had a requirement that resulted in my product being not as high quality as it could have been, because my graphic designer created an incredible poster. And the text was perfect, everything was perfect, I thought. But due to Filmhub's stringent requirements, I had to increase the font after I had paid my graphic designer all his money, and I couldn't quite get in touch with him. So I was kind of stuck in Adobe Photoshop, kind of enlarging the text myself, which resulted in an inferior movie poster, in my opinion. Could this have had an impact on my sales? Probably not, I don't know. But the reason why Filmhub's quality control process exists is to increase the overall quality of your film and of your marketing materials to make them as high quality as they can be. But unfortunately, in this instance, my product suffered. It definitely threw my poster's feng shui off a bit because I thought it was perfect the way it was, as you can see here. And it was just as the way my visual artist intended it to be. But Filmhub came back to me and said, hey, this font is too small, you gotta make it bigger somehow. And then I artificially made it bigger because at the time I was not in a position to rehire him to just simply resize the font and make it look nice at the same time. So me enlarging the font a little bit made the poster go through Filmhub's quality control process and actually made it pass. But in my opinion, it definitely made it a worse poster as a result. So just keep that in mind. You want to make sure your text is large enough for Filmhub's requirements. Number three, and this is the big one, no captions. You will need to submit a caption file with your film's materials. Even YouTube now, for a few years, has had this auto caption feature that does a really good job at auto-generating captions for your videos, and it uploads it for those who are hearing impaired. And it's pretty much an industry standard at this point, so it's really important that your film is in compliance with these industry standards, otherwise Filmhub will not accept it. Now at the time I used rev.com for my caption service. They created my SRT file for me because I was told that they would do the best job and that they wouldn't let me down, which they did, unfortunately. When I reviewed the quality of those SRT files and I watched the film with the SRT files over top of it or the captions over top of it, I realized there were a couple errors. There were actually a lot of glaring errors. So with rev.com, you'll have to submit your script to them as well as your film. And it was as if a machine was going through it because they had the script and they had the movie, but the words that I saw on screen just did not match up. So after a lot of back and forth with rev.com, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do this myself because I know how to do this in Premiere at this point. I downloaded their SRT file and I put it on my timeline in Adobe Premiere and I started to adjust it from there. If you'd like to learn how to create your own SRT file or captions for your feature film or video for free, I created a YouTube video about it. It's very simple. With the advent of AI and those auto captioning software tools, Adobe Premiere has become very, very good at auto captioning our videos. And so you'll get a pretty high success rate of about maybe 88 to 90%. And then you'll just have to kind of make these little fine tweaks to change a couple of words here and there. But just remember, after all of the auto captioning is done, it'll be up to you to really review each and every word and also the grammar in the SRT file to make sure that it is the best possible caption file that you can create for your film. Speaking of films, on your next production, if you are in need of a camera plate screwdriver and you're ready to throw away the quarter, please check out the Clover Key. It is my product, I created it. And it's not just a camera plate screwdriver, it's a bottle opener. It'll help you out on set and help you kick back after a long day on set and grab a drink. Number 4, dropped frames or black space. Now, a dropped frame might also occur because the hardware you're exporting on simply isn't fast enough and simply isn't powerful enough to export your film properly. So in that case, you may want to just borrow another machine if you can and export it on that. I know with respect to my film, it took about 2 or 3 days to export the whole film because there's a lot of footage that was dynamically linked to After Effects in my Premiere timeline, so it took a long time. And I used a lot of different plugins, VFX, and color effects throughout the film, so that kind of made the export process a very long process. But once you eliminate that dropped frame or unintentional black gap in your timeline, should be good to go in Filmhub's quality control process. So if that black gap is intentional, part of the artistic vision of your film, I don't know what accent I was doing there, then they should be able to push it through. Just let them know, shoot them an email. Just note, for certain streaming platforms, they kind of frown upon black space throughout the film, so just it could potentially impact your film's ability to get picked up by the streaming platforms. Number 5, video is overcompressed. If your film is overcompressed, Filmhub will not be able to push your product through. You've got to be sure that you've exported with the proper video codec, with the proper video extension at the end. If I were you, for instance, I would not export via H.264, I just wouldn't. It's not the highest quality compression available. If you're shooting a YouTube video like this one, H.264 is fine, but if you're shooting a film, you really want to export your files with Apple ProRes 422 HQ if you can. That is going to give you some really good quality results, or Apple ProRes 422. If you're on Avid, you can also use Avid ND-XHR or Avid ND-XHD. And if you're one of the stragglers using H.264, you've got to make sure you're using a bit rate of at least 15 megabits per second. And if you're exporting in UHD, you've got to make sure you're doing at least 50 megabits per second. And the file format should be an MOV or MP4 or MPEG. And you want the file size to be no bigger than 600 gigabytes. Number 6, poster is not title safe. So when your graphics designer, and hopefully not you, are creating the movie poster, you want someone who's qualified to do this, who makes really high quality movie poster work, that you see a Casino Royale movie poster or Hunger Games movie poster, and you look at your movie poster guy and it's like, okay, it's up there, great. There are people who exist who create high quality work like that. You just gotta find them. Fiber or Upwork. One of those. Just make sure your graphic designer knows that you need a 5% title safe zone around the perimeter of your movie poster. Depending on which platform your film makes it to, the perimeter of the image will be cut out. Additionally, if your poster has any film festival laurels or stretched out images on the movie poster, any kind of unprofessional black space on the movie poster, it will be rejected. Number 7, sales pitch. If your film does not have a sales pitch, it will be rejected, flat out, point blank, period, done, end of story. Now mine's not great, but it gets the point across, so here's mine for an example. The Hunger Games meets Kingsman: The Secret Service. Beneath the film's entertaining action lies a story of protecting who you love and discerning which life decision has the greatest potential for long-term happiness in the face of calamity. Stop dreaming, start fighting for your reality. That's a tagline for the film. So don't forget this, guys, because the streaming platforms are going to be looking at your sales pitch before they even watch your trailer. They want to see something that kind of grips their attention and say, okay, you know, you get them to watch the trailer afterwards, which brings me to my next point, number 8. Number 8, a movie trailer. If your film marketing materials does not have a movie trailer, it will not be accepted to Filmhub, and you will fail Filmhub's quality control process. Full stop. Don't even think about not thinking about submitting a trailer for your film. Here's mine.
Have you ever thought about what our lives would be like? Things were different. If we were normal.
This doesn't cover every reason why your film may not make it onto Filmhub. So for instance, if your captions are out of sync with the dialogue, it will fail QC. And there's also a myriad of other reasons why it might fail quality control. But you can take a look at Filmhub's website and they'll give you an extensive list as to what your film requires to pass Filmhub's quality control process. Now, if you'd like an extensive walkthrough on how to get your film onto Tubi TV, I have this video right here. If this video was helpful, please give this video a like. It's my only form of payment. If you want to be entertained, take a look at my film. It's on Amazon Prime, Tubi TV, the Roku channel, Hoopla, and a few other streaming platforms. Keep writing, keep distributing, keep producing, and it's always a pleasure talking to you guys. Until next time, peace.